change the picture. Hi, Lincoln and Dean, John. Hi, Kimmy. Hi, everyone. Hi, Lori. Good to see you all. Hi, Kim. Welcome in. We are letting folks into our Zoom room here at Life Amplified. We're going to get started in a moment. Nice to see you all. Hearts. Hi. And Lucho is manning behind the screens today, so he will watch the Zoom room and let folks in as we get started. But since it's 2 o'clock here in the Eastern Time Zone in the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, happy birthday to Pennsylvania, by the way. Did you all know that? Today is the birthday of Pennsylvania. Yes, look it up. Hi, everyone. Welcome in. We are going to get started. Welcome. I'm Jennifer. I am the Executive Director for Amputee Aid. Amputee Aid is the sponsor for Life Amplified, and Life Amplified is a weekly webinar where we get together, learn a lot, share information, hopefully make you laugh a little bit, entertain, and always come away learning something new. This is our time to share and share our experiences, but also learn from each other and from guests like we have today. Caroline's back. Yay! We're so excited. If you have not seen Caroline, if you're not a regular, go to our YouTube page and you will see a couple of episodes back with Caroline. It's one of the top 3 rated, I think. So, yes. So she's here again, and we're super happy to have her here. We'll get started with you in a minute. So hang out on the white the white chair, okay? Emily, way over there to the left, is our social worker at Amputee Aid. How are you doing, Emily?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I'm fine. I'm still waiting for spring to come. It's like it's trying here in Pittsburgh.
It says 62.
It says 62, but it feels like 32. Maybe it's my cold heart. I don't know. But I'm glad. I hope you're having a good day and glad that you're here. So Emily and I are the co-hosts for Life Amplified. You all know, if you're our regulars, there are some things that we like to do up front. So let's start with our topic for today. This is a bonus week of February's Prosthetics 101 theme. So we got a bonus week, the first week of March, with Caroline. Is going to be demystifying fittings. So all things fittings related, socket fittings, different types of sockets, questions that you might have. We are going to have a Prosthetics 101, Fittings 101 session today. And we label it a bonus week because it is extending from our February theme, but also a bonus session because if we can learn from last time you were here, people had a lot of questions for you. Yes. So we squeezed out an extra 30-ish minutes, depending on how long we have and how many questions you have. Now is your time to start thinking of those questions. Related to that, as many of you know, we are recording our session of Life Amplified. We are live with you all on Zoom. We're live with our friends on TikTok. Hi, TikTok over there. And we are recording our session so that we can share it on YouTube. Our recordings are posted every Friday and sent out to our email group. If you've registered for the webinar, you will get the recording and you're welcome to watch it as many times as you want. But also please share it far and wide with all of your friends. Anyone who needs to know or should know or you think might need to know about our organization, Life Amplified, or today's topic, please feel free to share that recording as well. What that means for all of you attending live on Zoom is we do capture your voices, and we would love to hear from you. We've got a group of 3 here. We've got Lucho behind the screen, but this is your time. You do not have to be shy. You can come off of mute at any time during our presentation and ask a question, share a comment, share an experience, whatever you would like. Just please be kind because this is a safe space for everyone to learn and enjoy and be feeling like they're welcome. But we do not capture your video. So we can see your lovely faces and your emojis and your pictures. The recording will not capture that. But if you're someone who's like, I don't really want my voice on the internet, that's okay. You can also type in your question or your comment, and we will do our best with Lucho's help behind the screen in capturing those questions and comments and sharing them as we go along. But we'd love to hear from you, so please consider coming off of mute at any time and asking a question. Now, related to that, I did say this is a safe space, so this is a time for all of us to listen, learn, educate, and share. This is probably not the time we want to share particularly personal medical information. We care about you and your medical situation. We want to hear from you. But this might not be the forum to do that because everybody in the planet, if I have my say, and we are YouTube famous someday or TikTok famous someday, follow us on social media. If you're not, please do that. So you probably don't want to share your personal business, all right? If you have personal questions and you are already our client, you know how to get a hold of Emily and me. We're always here to talk with you. If you're not, but you want to become a client of Amputee Aid, which is completely free to do, just go to our website, amputee-aid.com, click the little blue Get Help button, and it will take you to our organization. You'll fill out a little bit of information. that inquiry will come to us, and then we can set up a time to talk with you. Okay. Now, as we're getting started, who knows what my next question is?
Where are you from?
Where are you from? Exactly. Tell us where you're from. We're here in Pittsburgh. We are a Pittsburgh-based 501c3 nonprofit, but we serve folks all over the country. And for our friends in Canada, we'll help you too. Tell us where you're coming to us from. We'd love to know. And if you are on YouTube, tell us in the comments where you are from as well as our friends on TikTok. We'd love to know how far our reach is and make it even farther. In addition to our dream being YouTube and TikTok famous someday, we would love to have clients in every part of the country. We've served over 100 people in under 8 months. So we're getting there, but we'd love to know what state you are from so we can help you too. And if you don't mind telling us, how is the weather in your area? Since it's kind of rainy, but the spring is wanting to come out here in anticipation of opening day in a few weeks here in Pittsburgh. We'd love to know how the weather is in your area. Oh, Washington, and we have daffodils. I'm very jealous of you, Lori. We saw that. And we got tulips in Texas. Of course, there's our Texan friends. Caroline's from Texas. Okay, we got some Texas people in the house. I know Chicago's here. We got folks from all over the country. We're really glad to hear that. Raining in Texas. Yeah, it's rainy season. Well, everyone, we are very fortunate to have Caroline here to talk to us all about fittings. And I'm going to turn it over to my co-host now to tell us a little bit more about her and Union. And then we're going to get started. We've got some questions, and we'd love to hear from you as we go along. So tell us more about our revered, respected guest. And then, Caroline, get ready because we got a lot to talk about, okay?
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So Miss Caroline, she's a dedicated orthotics and prosthetic professional committed to improving mobility and quality of life for individuals with limb loss and limb difference. With advanced clinical training and a patient-centered approach, she focuses on providing personalized care, innovative solutions, and compassionate support through each stage of rehabilitation. She's known for her collaborative mindset, working closely with interdisciplinary teams to ensure optimal outcomes and empower patients to reach their full functional goals. So she's originally from Houston, Texas, now calls Pittsburgh her home. Outside of her professional work, she enjoys playing soccer, spending time with friends, and exploring the city.
Ooh, very nice. Welcome in. And on that point about having a collaborative mindset, we want to thank you very much for coming here and being part of our nonprofit family. Really, you are part of our family now. Caroline, if I ask her a question or email her, she will respond. Like, she's not blowing us off, okay? And you're giving us your time today. And that's very rare, to be honest with you, for an expert who's dealing with lots of patients and helping people. So thank you for being part of our family and collaborating with us and gifting us your time to educate our folks live and our folks who are watching our recording. So thank you, and kudos to you. And kudos to Union for letting you come here, too. As we're getting started, before we get into our questions, can you tell us a little bit more about you, where you went to school, and who you work for?
So I grew up in Houston, Texas, and then I got my bachelor's degree in Nashville, and then I moved to Connecticut for grad school, so I kind of kept bouncing around, and then came to Pittsburgh just kind of on a whim. I don't know, good job here, so I took the job with Union and moved to Pittsburgh, and I've really loved it so far.
Awesome.
Union, we have a pretty wide reach over Western Pennsylvania. We have, I don't know if it's 17 or 19 offices around Western PA, so family owned though, so still has that family owned small company feel, but I've been around in the area for a long time, so very well established.
And Union kind of keeps growing, and family owned and family started, right?
Yes.
Peter and Ann's, I think their grandfather, in his basement.
Yes.
And so has really from the ground up, literally started from a basement operation to this multi-city kind of operation. And so what an awesome opportunity to be part of that.
Absolutely.
But also to have a clinic that's so highly respected and regarded to talk with us too.
Yeah.
So we titled this presentation, Caroline, Demystifying Fittings.
Yes.
Okay. And although it's not just for new amputees, because from one thing that we hear a lot about is fitting is an issue that for some people, it's their whole life. It's going to be an issue in some way. Am I right about that?
Yes, it's very common. That's one thing I like to stress to all my new patients especially, is it's a lifelong relationship with your prosthetist. Your body is fluid, it's going to change, and the socket that we make is hard and rigid. So there will be continuous adjustments that need to be made.
Yeah, it's not a one and done kind of thing, okay? Yeah. Just like, here's a good example. Lots of people know about Christmas cookie weight, right? You put weight on at holiday time. If you put enough weight on, it's going to affect the fitting of your socket, right?
It could, yeah.
So let's kind of set the stage here first. Tell us from a prosthetist perspective, what are the goals of a well-fitting socket? It's like, when you're making a socket, what are your goals? And is it different if you are a lower extremity or an upper extremity?
Yeah, good question. So the two general goals are kind of comfort and control, right? It needs to be something that you can wear for your daily activities, wear all day if that's what you prefer. But it needs to also give you control over the terminal device, the foot or the hook or the hand, whatever you're using if you're lower or upper extremity amputee. So the real goal is to just kind of marry the two, right? We do that by generally we want pressure dispersion over the entire residual limb. We don't want, if you're a lower extremity amputee, don't want you just standing on the end of your limb. We want to kind of hold you up other places. And then just getting as much of kind of a bony lock and intimate fit as we can so that the socket doesn't feel sloppy on you. For anyone out there who's an amputee and has had sockets before that maybe they shrunk out of, probably familiar with that feeling. You feel like you moved your leg or your arm and the socket doesn't go with you like it should. So that is also something that we're looking to avoid. But again, trying to avoid those high pressure areas that could lead to discomfort.
Okay, all right. So kind of two themes that we're thinking about are comfort based on how long and what you're doing for the day, right? And control.
Yes.
And sometimes those are maybe conflicting goals a little bit.
It's a balancing act, yeah, because if we were to just squeeze your limb as tight as we could, that would give good control, but it'd be intolerable and you couldn't wear it. So there's a balancing act there for sure.
Yeah. All right. So let's start from the perspective of a new amputee. And folks, if you've been in this lifetime for a while, I promise you we'll get to you. Okay. Oh, but wait, Crystal has her hand up. So before I turn topics, and Crystal did exactly what we wanted, which is interrupt us at any time. Girl, I love that. Okay. If you have a question,
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. That's what we wanted. Ask your question, then I'm going to go to the next question for Caroline. Go right ahead, Crystal.
Okay, you were talking about like shrinkage, and how it changes so often. I'm coming up on my year, March 10th, and I really have not lost much volume. I'm a right below the knee amputee, and I really have not lost much volume. Is that normal? I mean, it's all solid muscle though.
So you're coming up on a year with your first prosthesis, you're saying?
No, on my amputation. I've only had my prosthesis. Help me out here, Jennifer and Emily.
Like a month and a half? Oh, 3 months? It's been that long?
Maybe it's only been 2 months. It hasn't been that long, though.
We need to check our social media because we know we have lots of pictures on social media, Crystal. It's not been long. It's been less than 3 months.
Is it normal, though, to not lose volume like that?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I've seen it where you don't lose volume quickly, and like you said, it's solid muscle. Generally, especially that muscle will atrophy, so it might take a little bit longer to lose volume. I still anticipate you will, but I wouldn't say it's completely abnormal to not lose volume. I mean, that's with this being so, it's a human-centered field, right? Everyone's a little different, but I've also seen it happen where people really don't change too much even with their first socket.
Yeah. So definitely.
I'll take it so I don't have to get so many sockets.
Right.
Change.
Yeah.
I was just wondering.
Great.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, great question, Crystal. And you know what? Thank you, because you reminded me of something else that I wanted to say as we were getting started. Because that's a good question. It's also a good question to talk to your specific medical team about. For everybody, nobody call us tomorrow and say, my prosthetist Caroline said blah, blah, blah. Okay? We're giving general information. Okay? For medical advice, you're going to want to talk to your team. As Caroline said, your prosthetist is a lifelong relationship. Always defer to them. I know Crystal wasn't doing that, but she helped me out. She always helps me, reminds me of things that we want to say up front. Okay? So this is general information only, all right? And for our new friends who popped in, hi, because some of y'all come from a break at work or you're sneaking in to break for work, put in the chat where you're coming to us from and how the weather is. And this is Caroline from Union, and she is our guest of honor today. All right, so we started, and if anyone else has any questions, please go ahead and unmute or put your hand up, and we'll get to them as we go along. But I wanted to kind of back up. So we talked about kind of the twin goals, main goals of a fitting, comfort, but also control. And so let's kind of start from the perspective of a new amputee who maybe this is their first fitting, or it's been a long time for them and they want to get a new socket.
Right.
Walk us through kind of what that process is like. We've seen some prosthetists do like a casting.
Yes.
Some do like a scanning.
Yes.
Talk to us about the different methods and kind of what someone who's getting a new socket fitted, like what that process is like for them.
Yeah, there are different ways to do it. I'd say casting and scanning are still the most common for above knee amputees. Sometimes we'll just do by measurements, just take a lot of measurements of the limb. And so that's your first visit, right? You meet with your prosthetist, you have a prescription for a new leg or a new socket, and then they do the measurement, whatever that is, casting, scanning, or just measurements. The next time you see them, you'll do a check socket fitting or a test socket or a diagnostic socket. People call it different things, but basically a temporary kind of trial fitting of the socket. And that would be one of these clear sockets. I can pull this one.
Yeah, Caroline brought lots of goodies for us to see. All right. So it's clear.
It's clear. And this leg, you see, has a clear socket on it, so you can see right through it. We do that for a couple reasons. One, we can see the pressures inside the socket clear as day. We can see if there's anywhere where there's, too much pressure, not enough pressure. And then also this plastic is a thermoplastic. So say, you're in the socket and you're like, oh, it really hurts down here on this bone. I can take it to the back, heat it up with a heat gun, push and relieve that material, and try it on again to where it's comfortable. So we do that because this is very moldable. It's very changeable.
Okay.
So we trial that in the office until we get a good, comfortable fit. For new amputees, I tell people a lot, this is the first fitting where you'll stand and you'll walk with the prosthesis most likely. So it's kind of getting used to that fit and making sure there's no kind of hot spots, essentially.
Okay. 2 questions for you. And one, I don't mean to trivialize this, but the first thing I thought when you're looking for like pressure points is, do y'all remember like when you were kids and you would smash your face up against the car window and it would be like smushed? Like you're kind of looking for that?
In a way, yes. But I mean, we'll be wearing this liner. So we'll kind of see, where the liner is maybe really pressing against it too much. We also generally do kind of skin checks, if your skin, after wearing, if your skin's red anywhere. So that's this clear socket. Again, you can see right through it. It's hard to see with this. I don't know if you can see it in front of me, this like white
We might be able to bring it
background.
up.
Yeah. You bring it up.
See it.
I don't want to pull this cord too much.
I know on test sockets they do that, but can y'all actually make carbon fiber sockets that are clear like that?
Unfortunately, no. The carbon fiber is opaque. We can. I'm afraid I'm going to pull this cord. Okay.
I got you, girl. Keep going. I'll stretch out your cord.
So you can see through it. There we go. So you can see my hand through it, see the pressure points, things like that. And then it's attached to the foot as well, like a definitive socket would be. So yeah, the carbon fiber sockets they cannot be see-through, but we can put designs on them. So
Caroline, is it a similar process for upper extremities? You start with the clear?
You start with the clear, yes. So we have a clear upper extremity here. You always start with the clear, pretty much.
And I got your cord if you want to go show it.
Yeah, it looks the same. It's just for an arm, so it's a different kind of shape. Get this in front of the camera.
And again, you're looking for where the pressure is.
Okay. Yes, looking for the pressure is getting feedback from the patient if it's to make sure it's comfortable. And then once we get that, usually takes 1 to 2 fittings.
Okay.
Just depending. Sometimes if a lot of changes are necessary, I like to do a second diagnostic fitting just to make sure we really dial it in.
And how long does a diagnostic fitting take?
It really depends. I usually like to warn my patients it's probably going to be one of our longer appointments.
Okay.
I mean, it could be 1 to 2 hours, just depending. And sometimes someone comes in, they put it on, they walk 50 feet around the office, they try it, and they say,
good.
Yeah, it feels great. It feels good. Then we go to definitive, which is, this black carbon fiber weave, but we can, like I said, we can put designs on it. So this one's kind of cool. I'm going to go to the camera again. Yeah. This is a definitive socket, and it's got
so cool.
Yeah, it's got this
like a
Harley
tattoo.
Davidson kind of tattoo. Yeah, and so we can do pretty much any design that can be laminated in. So if you have like
Yeah.
a t-shirt you really like, that's a cotton t-shirt,
Yeah.
we can include that. If there's just a fabric pattern that you like, we can include that, and it's permanently on this socket.
And I would love to know, Krista made a good point. Her diagnostic appointment was about 2 hours. Yeah, that sounds about right. For those of you who use sockets, I'd love to know if you have a design on yours, put it in the chat. I'd like to see what, so we've seen all kinds of like sea turtles and, you know, American flags, and Carl's got some Pittsburgh Steeler ones. Some people got glitter. I'd love to know. Now, Caroline, my second question related to this on your kind of your first set of fitting appointments or your diagnostic appointments is sometimes newer amputees, they might have heard their friends or somebody on the internet saying, oh, I went in, it was a half an hour, and then I was done. And so they think that that's going to happen.
Yes.
But then when they see their prosthetist kind of making adjustments and then going back and forth, they start worrying like, oh my gosh, my prosthetist is making all these mistakes. That's not really what's going on.
No, that's just part of it.
Okay.
You know, it's not what's going on. It's just again, we're kind of fitting, you know, your body into this hard, rigid thing. So there are usually a lot of little tweaks that have to be made, and again, not uncommon to, you know, just again need adjustments throughout life, pretty much. Yeah.
And you want to be, when you're doing those kind of adjustments, you're taking your time. You're not just like putting a hair dryer on it and pushing it out. It's very sophisticated measurements, right?
It is. It's it's measurements. It's more. Sometimes it is to feel, but yeah, we'll be. I mean, in my diagnostic appointments, I usually bring a Sharpie in and I'll draw all over the socket. You know, need to relieve pressure here, need to trim here, need to do this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
So I try to be as accurate as we can. Yes.
And it seems to me that, you know, one of the keys to these diagnostics appointments is the patient should be very clear on communicating what they're feeling, because you're not a psychic. You're very smart, but you're not psychic. And so you are going based on the feedback and what you see visually.
Yes.
Right, okay.
I say be as clear as you can and don't be afraid to nitpick is what I always tell my patients. I've had some patients who they say, oh, it's a little uncomfortable here, but I can live with it. It's a little painful here, but I can live with it. And I said, well, you know, if you don't have to live with it, then let's not live with it. Let's see if I can change it and adjust it. So I like to tell people like this, especially the diagnostic fitting, it's the time to nitpick. You know, I want you to be comfortable in this socket. This is the easiest time to do adjustments. So definitely don't be afraid to say like whatever it is you're feeling.
Okay, if there's any, look at the hand claps from Linda Cola, the amputee coach, and I know why she's doing that. There are not enough prosthetists who say that, number one. And number two, y'all, if there's any takeaway you should get from our webinar, it is do not be afraid to nitpick, right? You are hearing it from an expert. They need to know, because saying good enough, you'll get over it is not the answer. The answer is let's fix it. So we love that. All right. I saw in the chat some of the pictures. We saw some little tiger clubs. I saw some like woodland scenes. Look at that.
There's some awesome ones
some
on
horses.
there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm just thinking I would want like Lisa Frank or something, you know. We got some butterflies. And so you can be really creative. And although, you know, some people don't want that. They just want to have regular, you know, maybe just the pylon or the flesh tone.
You can always do regular black carbon fiber, or you can do skin tone, whatever your skin tone is. We have a bunch of different pigments. And then, the cover is also an option to, again, this one has kind of this cover to make it look a little bit more like one, you know, cohesive leg as opposed to the pylon. Yeah. That's all kind of patient preference. Yeah. You know, some people want that, some people don't. Yeah. It's up to you. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's your body and you get to make that decision. And so, those were Cammie's sockets. Thank you for sharing those with us, Cammie. You can really be part of your expression if you want it to be, or it can be something that blends in with a natural body part if you want that too. Now, let's go back to talking about sockets since that's a topic, and fittings. Now, all right, so we've gone through kind of these diagnostic sessions and trying to get the fit right. In addition to, you know, while you're at the appointment telling your prosthetist, well, this doesn't feel quite right, or it's pressing here, or it's painful there. When someone's at home, they're at work, they're walking around, they're, you know, whatever. What are some signs that their socket is not well fitting? What are the things people are looking for on the day-to-day?
Yes, a few things. One, I mean, the biggest one is pain or discomfort, right? Especially on kind of your bony prominences. If you're getting pain, if you're getting a redness that after you take the socket off and it's this bright, angry red, it's tender to the touch and it's not going away, that's something that we would want to adjust the socket. You know, that means the fit isn't correct. Also, rotation. If I've heard patients, they come in and they say, I'm walking and then all of a sudden my foot is pointing and the socket is totally rotated. That's usually a sign that it's not fitting right. It's not getting that, there's not that control that you need, right? It's a little bit loose on you. And so those are things that we can adjust. Generally the process goes, we make adjustments up to a point. We can make changes to even these definitive sockets. We can add pads. We can do some pressure relief things. We can, tweak and change things. But after so many adjustments, it's probably time for a new socket. So that's just kind of a conversation to continuously have with your prosthetist and with your doctor, with whoever your care team is.
Okay.
Generally, and this also, for insurance purposes, we'll need to do some adjustments to the socket, and we can do some adjustments to make it more comfortable until there's a point where it's like we've tweaked with this so much, it's just time for a new one.
Time for a new one. So you're looking for pain, discomfort, redness. If it's too loose.
If it's too loose and it feels sloppy on you, or it's rotating and you don't feel like you have control over it, that's a good sign. That you need some adjustments. Now
I'm seeing people still sharing pictures in our chat. Is that a Dodge Ram logo? What is that? Is that what that is?
I think so, yeah. That's cool.
I love it. Very cool. All right. So now, we're going to stay on the topic for a moment of sockets, and maybe we'll stick with lower extremity. Does the fit vary based on the type that you have? In other words, if you're using a pin lock as opposed to suction, can you talk this is maybe a topic more for newer amputees. What are the different types of sockets that someone might be able to get?
Yes. That's a great question. There's a lot, with the fit and the suspension. Yeah. So for below knee, we'll start there, and then we can talk about above knee. Below knee, there's two, I would say, kind of main styles of suspension. There's this pin lock, where you just have the liner that you roll on.
Here, I got your cord.
Okay, I'll walk over to the camera again. This liner that you roll on, it's locked in until you press this release button, and then it comes out. When you put it in, you can hear it.
Did y'all hear that?
Hear the clicks, and that's how you know you're in. That's one. You only have this one liner to where it's gel. It goes between your skin and the socket. That's one option for below the knee. This is also an option for above the knee. The other option, the other common option for below the knee, is this suspension sleeve. So with this system, this sleeve goes up over the socket here, and then it goes up actually onto your thigh. So you kind of roll it down. Roll it down like this. You still have a cushion liner, except this liner doesn't have any pin on the end of it.
Got it.
Cushion liner goes in the socket. You put this cushion liner on your limb, put your limb in the socket, and then roll this sleeve up over.
Now, how do you and your prosthetist decide which one to get?
So generally for the first... Generally for the first one, the prosthetist and the doctor will make a recommendation based on kind of your limb shape, redundant tissue, healing, any scar line, things like that.
Okay.
Because the benefit, so I would say perhaps one downside of this pin locking liner and why we sometimes want to be careful with it is this pin on the bottom, kind of the weight of the leg is hanging off the bottom of your limb here. Sure. So if you have if the bottom of your limb is sensitive, or if you have, if you get hot spots there a lot, pain, things like that, you might want a cushion liner, because the suspension, this liner, this sleeve actually kind of suctions it onto your leg, so it's more evenly distributed.
This one reminds me of, the suspension sleeve reminds me of more like a hug around your limb. Is that what I should be thinking of?
The whole sleeve kind of is, a hug around your limb, and then this sleeve...
What if...
Okay, we'll mute April but if you have a question, put your hand up so we know, and then we're not getting residual chats in the meantime. But go ahead. So it's more like a hug around the limb.
A hug around the limb, and so initially, the doctor and the prosthetist often will kind of discuss what they think is best, but then later down the line, you can, you can give feedback. You can say, like, some people, feel that the pin, they don't like the feeling of the whole leg hanging off the end of their limb. They like this kind of more, even pressure, even weight distribution that the suspension sleeve here offers. But the downside of the suspension sleeve is you have a gel liner, and then you have another liner, so it bunches up a little more behind your knee. Some people don't like that. They just want one liner to put on, and they're good to go.
I was also thinking, and I'm sorry in advance if this is a silly question, but if I'm thinking it, someone else is thinking it here or on the internet. Does the weather and the climate that you are in affect sometimes the decision? I'm thinking like really hot states, you might not want this. Is that relevant at all?
It can be, yeah, because this is more layers of material on your skin, so that definitely could be kind of like a deterrent. But and then for above knee, they have the pin option, but then above knee sockets also have this option for a seal in. So in this case, the liner itself has a seal on it.
Got it.
And so this like gasket here, I'll go close to you.
Yeah, I'll get your cord. Go right ahead.
This kind of ring around the liner creates a seal against the walls of the socket, and that's how it secures.
Is this what people call a suction socket?
I would call it seal-in socket. Yeah, I would say this one is a suction socket. It's kind of a type of, it uses suction to keep the leg on. A downside to this, the seal, is that if you lose volume and this ring loses contact with the side of the socket, then you lose your suspension. It's not going to stay.
Now, the button on the side, does that kind of control how tight it is, or how it kind of, what does that do?
This is just the one way. This is an air expulsion valve, so it lets air out, but does not let air back in, and then you can unscrew it. Figure out which way.
Got it.
Unscrew it, and then air can come back in, and then you can just slide the leg right off to remove the leg.
Remove your limb. And again, this is something, if you were above knee amputee, you would talk with your care team about what makes sense, maybe based on any pain that you have or the size of your limb.
Yeah, big one with this is if you notice that your limb changes in volume a lot throughout the day, if you're adding socks a lot, or you just get swelling and then shrinkage, this seal-in would not be a great option for you, because if you shrink and you lose contact, it's gonna fall off.
Got it.
That's where you might do something like a pin, because once the pin clicks in, it's secure and it's on there.
Got it.
Even if you change in volume a little bit, it's not gonna fall off.
Got it. Now, sometimes, Caroline, we see like a lariat kind of strap system.
Yes, there is. That's another common one for above knee, is there would be kind of like, a strap that you feed through the bottom of the socket and then Velcro connect onto the socket. That's another good option. Works similar to the pin. Once your strap, is fed through and Velcro to itself, it's not going anywhere. It's on. It does take a little bit of dexterity sometimes to kind of reach down and thread it through, but once you get it, it's a good way to kind of secure yourself on there.
So I'm envisioning maybe someone who doesn't have that dexterity, maybe they have arthritis or something like that, probably not an option for them.
Yes.
But again, that's something you talk to your care team about.
Yes. Talk to your process, and that's part of the evaluation we do when we first meet you. We take all that into consideration, not just the residual limb and that, but everything else, the hand dexterity, or just other things that we need to consider for what suspension would be best for you.
Oh, I see Crystal has her hand up. We'd love to hear from you. But as you're getting ready, Crystal, you just made me happy again, because what you're talking about is whole person care. And I love that, okay? What is your lifestyle like, and how can we accommodate that lifestyle, including your any barriers, dexterity issues, who your helpers are in your home? This is why we like Caroline. Okay. Crystal, go right ahead.
Yeah, because like you were talking, my prosthetist asked me a lot of questions, what are my goals, lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera. Does a patient's weight, is that a factor in deciding what leg or arm they get?
Good question. Yeah, no, it more so decides the foot and kind of what category of foot we need. That's kind of nitty gritty, but it doesn't really affect, I would say, the suspension style as much, or the socket design as much. It's more just getting a foot that's weight rated for the patient, so that you get the intended benefits from the foot.
Great question, Crystal. So when I'm seeing people sharing what kind of sockets they have, a hybrid suction and lanyard. Okay, interesting.
That's a cool, I think Oser actually just came out with that design. It's a cool design. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's when you sit down in the socket, it suctions, but then you also have that lanyard. So if you lose a little bit of volume, that lanyard is still hanging on, but you still have kind of the total feel of the suction over your entire limb.
Now, before we get to upper extremity, because I have some questions about that, I see that April has her hand up. April, did you have a question for Caroline? Oh, can we get some help unmuting April? Lucho? Hold on. We're going to send you a thing to unmute if you do have a question. If you don't, that's okay too.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
We can. Go right ahead.
Wonderful. I just have to say, first off, I've been working with these beautiful ladies, Jennifer and Emily, trying to get a slingshot
Yes.
bionic. We're working on that, hopefully praying that everything works out. I want to ask, I started out 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, with a pin lock. And I liked it, but it started giving me, it was just very unstable. And I've had a lot of issues over the last 3 years with a back infection and back issue that kind of stalled my walking. And I'm still using a walker. So I went to Florida and I did not realize I was going to be getting this suction sleeve leg. And I got it and I really like it because it's like, it feels like it's stuck to your leg, your upper part. I'm below the knee. So it feels like it's got a little more stability, but it's just not quite there. My only thing is I call it the blister producer because, oh my God, I never had blisters at all on my bottom stump. I drove to Daytona Beach while I was there in Orlando, and I ended up with a water blister on the end of my stump. And then I ended up with blisters around the top of the outer sleeve, the suspension, I guess. And then I have a swim leg that I wear, and it has the same as suction and all that. Well, I have to wear that regular suction when I go to the pool because I have that suction leg that I switch into. Anyways, what is your best ideas to prevent the ring of blisters around your upper thigh? Because I have that going on right now. I have some big, deep red lines around my leg from wearing the sleeve the other day. Because I know you have to like season them. I call it like seasoning a cast iron skillet. But I'm wondering, because the top of the sleeve has that sewn rim around it. I'm wondering if you can cut that part off, if that will help any at all, or...
So sometimes we do see some skin irritation where the sleeve kind of ends, and that can sometimes come from just like tugging and rubbing. So honestly, that's a question I usually refer to the doctor. If there's any skin ointment they recommend that would help with blisters, sometimes, you can if you put a little bit of lotion where it is, it doesn't allow there to be so much like tug. But we see that, I feel like sometimes, from the sleeve just kind of tugging on the skin, or just if there's any other material the sleeve could be made out of. There are some variations of this material. It could be just a skin reaction to that. Also, you said you're in Daytona Beach in Florida. We kind of mentioned the weather with heat. It could also be I wonder if it has to do with the heat.
Oh, I don't live there. I was just there for that. I live in Oklahoma, actually. Which we have humidity. But it's just right around that rim where that's at. And I put like the top on there. I help a little bit.
It does help because, again, sometimes right at that edge we kind of get that like tugging on the skin just a little bit. So something like Aquaphor, but I would definitely, that's the question I definitely would, also refer to the doctor if it keeps coming up, if they have any, recommendations for your skin.
So it could be a skin irritation. It could be a reaction to the type of fabric that this is made out of. And you said, Caroline, there are other types of fabric that this could be made out of?
Sometimes, or gel. But someone I think put, Melissa, silicone drops or Aquaphor around the edge.
Great, Melissa. Thank you for sharing that.
That's the amputee store does sell like a silicone lotion. I would try that. Some people try that just around the edge, because that kind of prevents that friction and tugging and rubbing. So Melissa, I definitely heard of some people doing that, and it has worked for them.
Yeah, great questions. And thank you for
the slingshot soon. I won't have to worry about that.
Right. And thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks for your questions and also for your compliments, April. I really appreciate that. And Melissa, for sharing your suggestions too. And keep in mind, everyone, if finances are tight and maybe something from Amputee Store is not in your budget, please reach out to us so we can help you with that. It's worth a try. Cammie had a related question. I think it might be a similar answer, Caroline, which is with this type of connection, how do you prevent bunching behind the knee?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. That is kind of the question because if you put it on with your knee bent, it'll bunch. That's hard to avoid. So what I recommend is kind of best you can, kind of scooting to the edge of the chair if you put this on while sitting, and best you can keep your leg straight while you roll it up. That helps. Now, I will say a downside of this system is even if you get it nice and smooth in the back when you're rolling it up, when you bend your knee again to sit, it's going to bunch a little bit. You've just got a lot of material back here. That's a little unavoidable, but rolling the sleeve up while your leg is as straight as possible helps it to lay smooth, usually behind your knee.
Okay. Question again, might be a silly question, but if I'm thinking it, someone else is thinking it here on the internet. If you are seated with this style for a long time, maybe you have a desk job, is it a good idea or a bad idea to like roll it down a little bit so it's not bunching around your leg? Like if you're just sitting down, can you roll this part of the sleeve down? Or
you could, yeah, you absolutely could do that. That's some people, and if they have the pin lock and they're going to be sitting for a while, they just kind of pop the pin so that it lets go a little bit. And you could do something similar with this. Yeah, you can, whatever's comfortable. If you know you're sitting, just remember to roll it back up or re-engage the pin before you stand.
Yeah,
make sure that it's on you before you get back up.
I don't know if work comp will cover that if you get injured. Okay, we're not giving legal advice or medical advice today. All right, now let's turn to upper extremities. Are there what kinds of, suction or lariat, or what are we talking about for upper extremities?
Yes, for upper extremity, similar. There's a pin for upper extremity as well. Sometimes upper extremity, though, they'll maybe do a thin liner with a ring on it, similar to the above knee. Okay. Some upper extremities just do a skin fit, though. No liner, or maybe just one sock, and then they just fit their residual limb into this. And then this big harness here goes across their other side, and the harness actually helps keep it on as well as operate the terminal device. So a little bit different. Generally that works better, I'd say, for upper extremity. We don't do really skin fit usually for lower extremity, especially not below the knee, just because of how bony it is, and it would cause, more skin breakdown. But sometimes for upper extremity to get maybe a little more fine control, because you're doing usually more, fine motor tasks with this. You could do a pin lock with the liner, or you could just do skin fit. You just put your limb right in.
We have a client who conveyed to us that she uses skin fit, and for years and has not had any issues with volume change on her limb, and so good for her. That maybe not be the case for everyone, but it seems to me skin fit is more common, and definitely more common in upper extremity.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes. All right. Now, related to this, and keep in mind, y'all, if you have questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat or raise your hand or just interrupt us. All right. Now, related to this, Crystal kind of led us in this direction earlier, which is your limb changing over time. Now, from your perspective as a prosthetist, is this more common early on in an amputation, or does it happen throughout the lifetime just for different reasons? Like, talk to us about that.
It's a great question. It is more common at the beginning. Again, everyone's a little bit different, but generally at the beginning, you probably have more swelling in your limb. The muscles, maybe haven't quite atrophied yet. They're going to atrophy over time. So I usually tell, again, my patients, the first leg you get, the first socket, will probably last maybe 6 months to a year. And then it'll be time for a new one, because, again, depending how much redundant tissue you have, the size of your limb, other things, it's probably going to change quickly. That being said, it's still, it'll kind of slow down the rate of change, but it never really reaches zero. And change can also be, if it can be from little things. If you had dinner with a lot of really salty food the night before, you might, your socket might feel a little tighter the next morning. We've seen things like that. Especially patients who are on dialysis, that leads to huge changes in limb volume. So a lot of things, if you gain or lose weight, that, and some people gain weight and their limb doesn't change. Some people gain 10 pounds and it seems like they gained it all. Again, it's all a little different. But I would say, in general, it's the rate of change slows down but never reaches zero.
It never reaches zero. Okay, which is another reason you're going to want to have regular appointments with your prosthetist.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How often does an amputee have an appointment with a prosthetist?
Yeah, so I do more appointments at the beginning usually, because that's where we're at the rate of greatest change, and where I want to kind of keep in touch to make sure everything's going well at the beginning and you're getting used to the leg. But I like to schedule at least every 6 months for a regular patient. And that is also because most insurances that I work with, at least, will cover new supplies. So gel sleeves and stuff every 6 months. So I also use that as kind of a check-in. Like, are your liners still in good shape? Do you need more socks? Things like that. And then also, again, why it's important to everything we do need a prescription from a doctor. So keeping those, appointments with your doctor as well. But I like to do at minimum every 6 months just to do little check-ins.
And check on your supplies, see that everything's working. This reminds me, sidebar very quickly, y'all. The end of this month, we are going to have Paul Tupperville from Gait Pulse on as our webinar guest. It is a free app. If you are an amputee, free for you to use. We love free dollars, okay? Here, y'all know we love free stuff. Free app, and as part of the app, you can monitor the lifetime of your supplies.
Oh,
Isn't that cool?
Okay.
I'm going to send you the information too. Unfortunately for prosthetists, there's a fee to it, but maybe Peter and Ann will let you all get it. But you can monitor the length of and longevity of your supplies, which is really cool. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute here. So, related to kind of how often you meet, it seems to me if someone's having a lot of issues with their fit, there's nothing wrong with scheduling an appointment in the meantime, right?
Yeah, absolutely not. I definitely encourage people to, if they have a problem or a concern, get an appointment, because if there's, like we talked about, skin irritation or pain or, angry red spots that are tender to the touch, not going away, we don't want those to get worse. So,
You're hearing it from the expert. Don't wait. You are not bothering your prosthetist.
Right.
That's what they're there to do. They're there to help you. They're not psychic. Okay? All right. Now, on this point, one thing I'm thinking of is you're going to have your 6-month teeth cleaning, doctor's appointment, and prosthetist appointment. It's all on the same day. One day off of work or one day with someone driving you around. Get it all done, okay? And then re-up on any supplies that might be kind of going down, or if insurance lets you get a new one, you should get it, right?
Yeah, especially if you need them, for sure. And especially things like socks that'll wear out. And
Now, when we're talking about limb and volume changing based on your activities, what kind of diet you had, the time of year, whether you're gaining weight or losing weight, one thing that I was reminded of, Caroline, and I think Carl, our founder, who's a below-knee amputee, shared this the last time you were here, is he's a triathlete, super, fit guy, runs, swims, bikes, all the things. And there are times when he's working out that the limb will swell to the point where you can't put a socket back on, or you just need to take a break. And that happens too, right? Based on like your workout routine, that kind of thing?
It can swell, I've seen, some, I will say shrinking is more common, but I've definitely seen patients where, it will swell up depending on what they're doing, or just, again, they're, it could be the weather, it could be what
a lot of
diet.
things.
It could be a lot of things.
Now, on this point, do you, as a prosthetist, recommend different sockets based on someone's physical activity? In other words, do you have like a marathon socket and then a day-to-day office socket? Like, what does that look like from the prosthetist perspective?
Not as much. I'd say that's more, activities more relate to the feet and the knees.
Okay. Tell us about that. Let's kind of educate us on, why activities would matter for the type of, maybe the knee you have, the foot, the ankle. Tell us about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, different feet have different kind of capabilities, different, they're kind of made to do different things. Generally, when we're talking about feet, also, there's a trade-off. If a foot is more dynamic, gives more energy return, is kind of bouncier, it's also less, stable. So if you're someone who you just need a good, stable base to get, to get around your house, to walk shorter distances, there's a foot that's good for that. It doesn't have much flex to it, but it's going to keep you stable on the ground. But if you're someone who likes to go hiking, does yard work, or just in general is very active and moving around, there are feet that have more flex to them and act more like a spring, give some energy return. So that's all. There's a lot of different options, and that's all, again, a big thing based on kind of your activity.
I'm even imagining for our folks who are newer into this lifestyle, if you imagine like the Paralympian runners, who it almost looks like it's just like springs almost because of all the energy return, right?
Yeah, the big running blades, the ones that you'll see sprinters use. So this foot here is actually, this is just a daily foot. It's carbon fiber, and it's just not in its foot shell. This would normally come in a foot shell. Okay. But you can kind of see it has the heel and then the toe. The Paralympic one, the sprinting blades are like just a C. There's no heel, because when you're sprinting, you don't really use your heel. You just need a big spring to run. And if you notice, when they're in their like interviews afterwards, if they're still wearing their running legs, especially bilateral, they're kind of like hopping around because there's no heel. You can't stand still with those. But
you have to bounce.
Yeah, but you can run fast.
Okay, interesting.
And I did see a question. Someone asked what justifies medical necessity for a socket replacement or new components. That's a great question.
Great question.
Medical necessity for a socket first. That is generally, like I kind of talked about earlier, we'll do multiple adjustments. Once we kind of get to the point where we've adjusted it, we've added so many pads, we've done pressure reliefs, it's just not going to work anymore. That's medical necessity. With prosthetics, there's not a hard timeline on it. Okay. It can be, justification of weight change. Now with a lot more people being on, Ozempic and GLP-1 type things, if you are on one of those medicines and you lose a lot of weight over 3 months and your socket doesn't fit anymore, it doesn't fit. If you're wearing a lot of socks, that's a huge one. If you get up in the morning and put on 10 ply or more socks, and the socket already has pads in it especially, you're probably time for a new socket. The components, the feet and the knees are, I'd say more related to the lifetime of the component. Most of these feet and knees have certain warranties on them, and so if it's been a few years, whatever, with a foot and it's kind of getting to the end of its life for safety, we can say that, you need a new foot to keep up with your activities. Or sometimes we'll see, someone, when they first get their prosthesis, we put them in a really stable foot with not much energy return, and then they work in physical therapy, they get strength up, they get endurance up, and they're a lot more active than they were, a year or two ago. Then we can say, okay, now you need a foot that's going to keep up with your activity level.
Great
I will say overall, this whole thing is modular. We can change the foot and keep the same socket. We can change the socket and keep the same foot. I feel like you'll see socket replacements more often than a whole leg replacement, and that's just because these feet do last a good amount of time.
Okay.
So usually it takes a few years with most private insurances to get a new foot.
Got it. If you are struggling with an insurance issue, or if you're looking to appeal a denial, or if you have questions specific to your insurance plan, you're going to want to talk to your patient care provider at your clinic. And if you don't have one, contact Amputee Aid. We'd be happy to find that information for you and work on that with you. Cammie, I saw that you had a question. If you still have your question, you're welcome to come off of mute and ask it. Or if we already answered it, that's fine too. And while we're doing that, I see a comment here, which I think is probably common. You have more appointments when you have your test socket, and then you kind of once you get your tweaking done, you don't have as many appointments with your prosthetist, right?
Yeah, many more appointments before and after a new test socket, adjustments, alignment. Very common because, again, like I said, we try this test socket in the office and we put it through our patients as much as we can in the office, but everything works better in the office than it does in the real world. So it might be you're walking around, it feels good, it feels great, you go home, you're in your yard, and all of a sudden it's kind of bothering you or something's not quite right, then you would come in for a tweak. So I also, whenever I deliver a new socket, I tend to do a 1 or 2 week follow-up just so we can, because you really got to give things a test run, in the real world before you know how they're going to work for you.
See how it's actually working in the real world. So if you did have that question, go ahead and put your hand up again or type in the chat and Lucia will grab it for us. And while we're waiting to see if there's another question there. Oh, yes, we can. Go right ahead, Candy.
Sorry, I have a hard time knowing when to interrupt or not. So I'm
That's okay. Go right ahead, girl.
We just have a question. You mentioned something about don't worry about bothering your prosthetist, but I had a hard time with that because my leg wasn't fitting properly and it kept having pain, and my prosthetist kept trying to help me, and after a while I could tell that he was getting irritated, and he said, well, this is just the way it's going to be, and we've worked really hard on that limb, so we should just move forward. And I said, no, we shouldn't. So he was not happy, but he redid it and it fit perfectly. Yeah. And for a while I was like, he is not nice, but he's brilliant. And at the end of the day, I deal with so many issues that I did end up going with somebody else. So I am nervous about the new person. Do you guys get education on how to talk to a person?
Great question.
Unfortunately, we do not get education on how to talk. We probably should add that to our curriculum. Yeah, but I mean, it is unfortunate that he was frustrated. I mean, I sometimes get frustrated with myself if I have a bad fit, but I'm never frustrated with the patient. I'm never mad at the patient for pointing out problems. You know, I want to know how it fits. And he had to remake the socket. I mean, that happens sometimes. It is what it is, right? Our job is to get a comfortable socket, get you able to go, you know, do whatever you want to do in your daily life, you know, fulfill your goals. So yeah, it's not, I mean, it's unfortunate. He shouldn't have gotten frustrated, in my opinion. It's just, that's how it goes sometimes.
I saw, Caroline, as Candy was sharing that, I saw other people's head shaking, yes, that they probably also had that experience. This is one of the reasons I said I'm always happy that Caroline is with us, because she's going to tell you, like, this is how it is, but also, you know, your prosthetist should not be making you feel bad. You know?
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
But one thing I'm thinking of is, this might be an idea for Amputee Aid to come up with a curriculum or a program that what we call patient first or you know, person first care. I know you all do that. This is not for you. This is for all the other people, the prosthetists that have Candy, those type. To learn, Candy, to your point, how to be more patient focused and kinder. And maybe not as quick to be frustrated. You know, at the end of the day, we're all people, and everybody has days. Y'all have those days where you might come across a little bit negative. But Candy, I hope that with this new person that you will have a better and more a healthier and less triggering experience. I saw Tracy mention in here reaching out to an amputee coach like Lynn DeCola's the amputee coach, who has decades of experience and training as well to kind of help you with that process. And also, she can be the bad cop for you if you don't want to be the mean person. So, no, those are really, really great points. And I'd imagine, Caroline, sometimes even in your practice, yes, there are going to be times when it's frustrating. Not because there's anything wrong with the patient or with you, but because you are trying to take a piece of plastic, you know, and put it on a living limb that's going to change over time. It's like, you know, there's only so much you can do, but you don't want to say it's useless. It's just, it's a long-term, you know, effort on behalf of you and your patient, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, I mean, that's a big thing with talking with new amputees, of finding, like, that's why I say it shouldn't be painful, you know, it shouldn't be uncomfortable. It's going to feel unnatural and new, you know. At the beginning, we're fitting, you know, your body part into this rigid socket, but there shouldn't be pain, there shouldn't be skin breakdown. Like I said, it should be something that you can, you know, get used to, but then wear throughout the day or for whatever your goals are. Yeah,
and I see Kim also made a great point, is sometimes she's seen prosthetists get upset maybe for someone who's older that's not really comprehending what you're saying. Not you, but, you know, the other prosthetists. A good point, you know, be mindful of who your patient is, which I know you already do. I just wish other people would. All right, now on this point though, are there certain things that amputees can do to improve their socket fit? Are there things like things that you suggest they do? Maybe for new amputees, it's wearing a shrinker, but talk to us about those kinds of things that amputees can do to improve their own socket fit.
Absolutely. Wearing a shrinker is a big one, especially for new amputees, just keeping that limb volume consistent and even shrinking your residual limb before you get cast and fitted for your first prosthesis. That's a huge help. A lot of I've heard physical therapists and occupational therapists recommend desensitizing the limb, you know, light massage. Some recommend maybe rubbing like a towel over it, just getting it used to, once you're healed, you know, from your surgery and everything, stitches are out and you're well healed, just getting your limb used to straight, that will help. And then once you have the leg, the biggest thing is managing your sock ply. I kind of mentioned that earlier, but socks, basically they'll go on over your liner and they serve to take up, you know, space. Or if your limb shrinks, you put a couple socks on, that will take up the extra space in the socket so that you're getting that total contact fit and you're not just falling to the bottom and hitting the bottom. But I would say especially the beginning, shrinkers are very important and very helpful.
Okay, all right. And socks, you know, again, obvious question, but if you're a new amputee or a loved one of a new amputee, you might not know this, so I'm going to say it for everybody. We're not talking about socks that you get at like Walmart. We're talking it's not like you can't just, well, maybe you can. Can you recycle like someone's natural foot sock to use? No.
I wouldn't, because it has the heel in it and it has the seams. So
so educate us on what a sock actually is. Okay.
I wish I had brought one. I wish I had thought of that, but it's essentially it's just cotton sock, it kind of looks like your shrinker, honestly, just a little bit thicker, you know, or it takes the shape of this because it goes up over the liner.
And it fills the space. When
it fills the space, exactly. They come in different thicknesses. So you can, you might put on 2 thin ones and then you need a little more, so you put on a thicker one. But they're just, cotton socks that go on over your liner, fill up space, because with the design of these sockets is they're meant to, most of them be total surface bearing, which means just an even pressure over your entire limb.
Got it.
That's, how I like to describe it, even pressure, no hot spots. And that kind of holds you up, for lower extremity amputees, holds you up, kind of, again, distributing the pressure over the entire limb, not just standing on the bottom. You'll know it if you shrink and you're not getting that pressure and you're just standing on that bone. It'll hurt. Generally, that bone is not, the end of your limb is not meant to take weight, so
now,
we're looking for that balance.
If someone's going to be out for the day, we'll stick with lower extremity. Although socks can be for upper extremity too.
They can, yes.
If you don't have that skin.
If you don't have the skin fit, if you're wearing a liner, such as the pin lock, you can put socks on. Socks become more difficult, but they're still possible with like a seal-in suspension, one with the ring. You just need a special type of sock that goes under the ring.
Got it. Okay. Now, if someone's going to be out for the day and maybe their limb changes during the day, they might be retaining water or whatever, it's too hot, they eat salty food. Do you recommend that they change the ply of sock during the day, like have a little go bag with them?
Yeah, a lot of people do. Keep socks in your car, keep socks in your purse if you carry a purse, even just a couple, so that if needed, you can change them during the day. Again, not everyone has to do that. Some people do, and there are if you find yourself consistently changing your socks throughout the day and it's a constant adjustment, there are other styles of sockets that are volume adjustable, so you can definitely look at and talk to your prosthetist about something like that. If that's a kind of constant thing for you.
Helpful to know.
Yes.
Now, Daryl has a question here, and we'll see if we can answer it. I don't know that there is an answer, but let me ask anyway. Do you have any suggestions for the best type of socket for someone who is a diabetic? Does that matter at all?
I mean, I feel like there's not one specific socket style that's best for everyone, not one specific socket style that's best for diabetic patients. With diabetic patients, it is especially important, to monitor your skin. Don't just, especially if you have neuropathy or decreased sensation for any reason, don't just rely, I've talked a lot about it hurting, but also at the end of the day, after you take your prosthesis off, look at your leg and look at your skin. Make sure there's no hot spots or areas of irritation. So, not a particular socket style that's best, just make sure that you're keeping a really close eye on your limb health and not getting any hot spots or areas of irritation.
So although fit is important for everyone, it seems like for folks who are experiencing diabetes, even more so, you don't want to create sores or things like that when you have diabetes.
There's more of a risk, Yeah, absolutely.
So Daryl, if you have more specific questions, let's get you set up with your healthcare team so you can ask very specific medical advice that's specific to your needs. But great questions. I know there are other folks who are amputees as a result of diabetes. My grandmother was a bilateral amputee as a result of diabetes, so that's a very sensitive topic, and I'm sure other people had this similar question as you, so thank you for asking it. All right, so let's switch gears just a little bit. I mentioned Gait Pulse, this app that we're going to be talking about at the end of the month, and I'll send you all some information about it too, because I think it's really cool. It's great for your patients, because any patient can get it for free. It helps you kind of monitor the longevity of your supplies, but you can also keep like a fit journal day to day of how your fit is. How does your socket feel? How many socks did you use? What ply did you use? Did you have any sores anywhere? As April alluded to, was there blistering at the top? Was it bunching around the knees? And so you can actually keep a day-to-day journal. So 2-part question for you.
Yes.
Do you have patients who keep journals? And related to that, would they be helpful to you as a prosthetist?
Yeah, I don't have patients that keep like daily journals, but I'll tell patients, especially like if they're taking a socket home and I'm going to see them back in 2 weeks, not necessarily a daily journal, but just keep a list. If something comes up, write it down. And that is helpful to me, because then when we're in the appointment, we can kind of go through the list and check everything off and fix all the problems. Because I know me personally, I'm the person who, like, when I go to the doctor, I forget everything that I was going to say to them. So I think, even if it's not a daily journal, that helps. Just like, when I do this activity, when I go up the stairs, it hurts here. Something like that, so that we can make sure that we address it at the appointment.
And you said something really important that I wanted to bring up, which is when you're writing, if you are keeping a journal, and we've had some advice from other folks that journals are helpful, right, to track things. Not only my limb hurt, but where, because where on your limb, lower and upper extremity, where it hurts or where there's friction or sores, that is very telling to you as a prosthetist, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Where
why?
what you were doing. Yeah, just because we know that when you're doing certain things, lower or upper extremity, that puts different pressures on your limb and different pressures in the socket. That has to do with kind of the alignment of the socket as well. If there's always pressure in a specific spot, it helps us know kind of troubleshoot what may be going on exactly so that we can make the correct adjustments.
Okay, got it. Now, wow, we've already been talking for an hour. All right. So, y'all, we have about 20-ish minutes left with Caroline. So if you have questions, start asking them or putting them in the chat so that we can get to as many questions as we can before we close out our extended session of Life Amplified today. Or you're welcome to raise your hand or just come off of mute and interrupt us at any time. All right, so start thinking of those questions, and Lucho behind the screen will alert us if there's one there, or we will watch and see your hand up, or we'll see your green box light up here for Zoom. TikTok friends, you're going to need to hop over to Zoom. Look on our page for the code. You'll see it there. It's free. Just join us over here on Zoom. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit and take us to the perspective of a family member, friend, or loved one of an amputee. And I will talk from personal experience. As the granddaughter of a bilateral amputee, it was hard growing up seeing times where my grandmother could not use her legs. And because it was a fit, or she, as someone who had diabetes and unfortunately did not take care of herself, she would have sores. And so, but as a loved one, the first thing you think is, I'm going to call that prosthetist. Like, something's wrong with that place. We got to go somewhere else. Like you kind of, it's hard to resist the urge to overreact, I guess. And so talk to us a little bit about that, about how you as a prosthetist educate family members and friends, and what family members and friends should know about being an amputee, because we don't know what the life is like. We're there as supporters. We see from the outsider's perspective, and sometimes we just want to help and protect. Tell us about that, kind of what your role is, kind of educating folks, and then what you want family members and friends to know about things like FIT.
Yeah, no, great question. I think if, your family members can come with you to the appointments, that's great. I always like seeing, a patient there with their spouse or, whoever, their sibling, whoever they live with or who may be helping them, because a lot of information is thrown at a new amputee, and, in a fitting appointment, in a delivery appointment, there's a lot, to consider with, the liner, the correct way to put that on, the socks, what you're monitoring for fit, everything we've talked about. It's a lot of information. So if a family member can be there and kind of be a second set of ears to help, that that is helpful. And then, in terms of, it's tough to answer the question about what, you want them to know about life, like as an amputee, because I feel like that's kind of a discussion to have with your family members and your caregivers. And but I would say if they're able to come to those initial appointments, especially, that would be really helpful, because then they can get the information and they can learn about the process kind of alongside the patient.
Okay. See, another reason we like Caroline is you're not saying nobody else is allowed in the room. Now, obviously, there's some HIPAA things and maybe some forms that need to be filled out. That's that's a clinician decision. But you're not discouraging a family member or a friend from coming, being, the extra set of eyes and ears, listening, maybe asking questions that, at least for me, I get a deer in headlights look when I'm at the doctor's office, and I blank, like you said, you just kind of blank out. I don't know what to even ask. You have someone there who can be, your helper.
Absolutely. And I've had that where, patients are about to get up and go, and their spouse is like, oh, wait, tell her about this thing. And they're like, oh, yeah. And it helps them remember, another concern, another question they had.
Great to know. And I saw Melissa, she's full of good tips today. Thank you. So Melissa, use the notes app on your phone, so you always have the notes with you. Exactly. You don't need, the apps are cool. Don't get me wrong. They're cool. But simple as having, the notes on your phone, you can dictate into your phone. Don't text and drive. Or if you're old school like me and like Emily, if you are in our office, you're going to see we have handwritten journals. That's how we take, we keep all of our client notes electronic, but homegirl and I walk around with notebooks all the time, writing stuff down. So whatever works for you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great points. Now, let's go to another question here. And then we'd love to see if you have any questions as we're coming up to the end of our session. You've got a couple more minutes left for free advice and information from Caroline. Now, in the time that you've been a prosthetist, can you talk to us a little bit about any technology changes that you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, the biggest one I've seen is, like you talked about, some people cast, some people scan. More use of the scanning and kind of 3D imaging and 3D software to modify the sockets. That's been great, especially because it's just scanning is quick, it's clean, it's easy. And it's just another way, again, to take an image of the limb and modify it. So that one's big. I know that there's talk of it, a lot of it is trying to make things more, streamlined for the patient. There's a bunch of new socket designs out there. I talked about there are some adjustable sockets.
Yes.
So that if you're someone who constantly fights with, limb volume changes, there's that. This is a socket. So this is an above the knee socket. It's a direct socket, which is by Oser. So this has become more popular.
Can we show it up there? I'll hold your cord again. I feel like you're a little kid on one of those leashes.
Yeah, I know.
From the 90s.
So I'll show the kind of traditional above knee socket.
Okay.
Which is this one. So it comes up, there's a big kind of seat here that you sit on. It's big, it goes up kind of right into your butt pretty much.
Okay.
This is kind of the alternative. It looks more like a bucket. It's called subischial, so it's lower. It doesn't go up into you as much. And the really cool thing about this socket is I talked about there are, multiple fitting appointments. You get measured, you do the diagnostic fitting, you come back for the definitive. This socket is actually made right on the patient. So it's one appointment, sometimes 2 appointments. We might take some measurements to get the right liner size and such. But then you make this socket, and it's a little bit of a longer appointment, usually about 2 to 3 to 4 hours, depending. But then the socket is made that day. So that's kind of a cool, it streamlines the whole process. Yeah. Someone said they have the direct fit. It's becoming more popular for sure, becoming more commonplace. It's a very tight fit. That's how it works, but that's something you can tolerate.
So because it's a direct fit, you're not kind of seated into it? Is that the idea? Or help us understand that?
It just gives a hug to your entire limb, essentially, to keep you suspended, as opposed to the traditional socket. You're kind of sitting on a shelf. There are pros and cons to both, absolutely. It's just, this is, when you asked about new technology, this is new technology, new socket technology that has come out relatively recently.
Interesting. Okay. Side question for you, and we'll watch. And thank you, Shane, for sharing that. Yeah, Shane does have that. Okay. Well, let's ask this question first, and then I'll go back to my question. Where do you see AI fitting into the world of fittings? Great question. Have you all started using AI, or is there kind of like murmurs that AI might be coming into your field?
We have not started using AI yet. I haven't heard anything about AI still, because even if we do kind of modifications on the computer, so that option where we would scan the limb and then modify it on the computer, that's still done by us to get specific modifications and everything. So I haven't heard of it. I don't know if it's going to seep into the field, because everything is so custom to the person in this field. I don't know if AI, if or when it's going to make its way in, but technology is definitely making its way in with mainly 3D, CAD CAM kind of modeling and things like that.
And it seems to me the more specific you can get on the measurements, the better the fit, generally speaking.
Absolutely, yeah. And so that's why, with scanners nowadays, you can use your iPhone to scan a patient's limb and get a really accurate fit. Yeah, the technology has come really, really far with that stuff. So
now, my side question was if we can pull back the curtain and learn a little bit about training, because I'm so curious about this. What kind of training do you have to go through to learn the different ways of when it came time to learn your first scanning with your iPhone? Do you have to go away to school for that? Do you watch a webinar? Do you just YouTube it? How does Caroline learn to do all of this?
It's webinars and then talking to clinicians in my company who have done it. It's kind of, so the companies that make these new technologies, they all have instructional, videos. They have online courses that we can do. And then also I do a lot of work. Like I've done a lot of these direct sockets with a clinician in my company who's done, he's probably done well over 50 of them by now. And so at least, and so I kind of learned I did their online course, and then I kind of learned from him and got more experience that way.
It's highly skilled work. And I'm thinking of this because back to my point about family members, we are aware of family members who have been so frustrated on their family amputee not getting a socket that they have fabricated their own in their garage. Please, y'all, that's not safe. Okay, we understand the intention to help people, but this is a very skilled craft that you have to go to school for and learn measurements and tools and diagnostics and all of the things. You make it sound very easy, which is why we love you, because you can distill it to easy concepts, but this is highly skilled.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. I hope I'm communicating things in a way that's understandable, because I sometimes find myself getting in the weeds of things too. So I appreciate everyone's questions, and let me know if something I've said isn't clear.
Yeah. And Shay made a good point. If we can go back to the direct fit on the above knee for a moment. The direct fit is lower and forces you to walk differently. Yeah. So you're walking. You know what? On that point, actually, Shane, I'm glad that you brought that up. For our lower extremity friends, does your fit affect the way you walk at all?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Especially if you feel unstable in the socket, that can affect the way you walk. You might be, taking a shorter step on the prosthetic side. What Shane's saying, the direct socket is lower. That's true. The traditional socket goes up way high on your hip. This one, the direct socket here, is totally below your hip, so you have full range of motion without any, without running into any socket or anything. So, but I will say, again, pros and cons. The important part of this direct socket is because there's less of the socket, so to say. There's less inherent stability. It requires more strength to use generally, and more training to use generally. But yeah, it's your fit can definitely affect the way you're walking, and especially if you have a bad fit and you feel unstable, or you feel like you can't, stay on the prosthetic for a long time, or it absolutely can.
So I think that's another thing, that if you are someone who keeps journals or uses a notes app like Melissa had suggested, if your walk is changing and you notice it, keep that journal of that. It might actually be a sign that it's the socket that's the issue. It could be a lot of other things too, but that's something that you want to keep a note of, so you can talk to your prosthetist about. And like Caroline said, if it's an issue, don't wait for your 6-month checkup or whatever. Right. Call them; they're there to help you. Okay, or find someone who's willing to help you. But be kind. We all want to be kind to each other. Okay. Crystal had her hand up, so we'd love to hear from you, Crystal. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know in some of my groups that I'm in, we have a hip disarticulate. What is is it harder to fit someone that is a hip disarticulate?
Great
What's
question.
The process for that?
Thank
what
you.
Factors?
Great question, Crystal. Thank you for that. We always want to be inclusive, and we have not talked about our HD friends yet.
Yes, great question. It can be harder. They're in general with a hip disarticulation. We'll go with an above knee amputee. That femur is still present, so you still kind of have that femur bone to lock onto. With a hip disarticulation, that's not present, so you're trying to grab onto less, essentially, a lot more soft tissue, less, bony structure to give control. So that definitely can be challenging. And again, you kind of, with a hip disarticulation, to progress the leg forward, the patient has to do a lot more kind of engagement. They have to kind of engage their pelvis and their core a lot more. So you need to find that, again, that balance of holding on tight enough that they have a really intimate control over the prosthesis, but not, making it so that it's not too tight, that it's not tolerable for them.
Yeah, great question, Crystal.
So they really have to use their upper body in order to move that device. Is that correct?
Generally, yes, because you have to kind of tilt your pelvis and throw it, which is not an easy thing to do. Your pelvis doesn't have much movement, and it's also kind of engaging your core to swing the leg forward. It is there's a lot more effort that goes into moving it, because you don't have that that bone and those muscles to help with control, to swing. Great question, Crystal.
Anyone else, if you have any other questions, now is the time before we close out our session with Caroline. And Caroline, as we're waiting to see if anyone else has any other questions, I'm just wondering from your perspective, if there's anything else that you wanted to share with us, something we haven't talked about yet that you wanted to talk to us about.
I mean, yeah, we talked about, I'm glad that we got to talking about socks and socket fit, because that, when talking about education for the amputees, that's a really important aspect. Knowing when to add socks, but not too many socks, right? And that's something that honestly oftentimes just comes with practice. You know, if you had too many socks, you'll kind of lift yourself up out of the socket, it's way too tight, and then you don't have control. But if you don't have enough socks, you're hitting the bottom and you could cause a wound there. So just at the beginning, it's a learning process in a lot of ways. And there is, you know, learning process in a lot of ways. You have to work with your prosthetist, work with your physical therapist, your occupational therapist, your doctor. There is a whole team around this. So utilizing that whole team is very, very important to make sure that you kind of start off successfully, knowing what you need to know so that you can be a successful user, you know, throughout your life. Yeah.
And I really love the way you're kind of closing us out on this topic, Caroline, because we started with talking about our twin kind of goals of control and comfort. But related to that is it is a team effort with your prosthetist. And although the way your limb changes might be different when you are a new amputee as opposed to an older amputee, your limb is going to change during your lifetime. And which is why we say it's a lifetime relationship with your prosthetist.
Yes.
And if you work together, you can get it into a good fit, but it is a work in progress, right? And so everyone should come to this process with some patience and some kindness and open communication. There's another question as we're getting ready for it to close out. How does an amputee bring their team together for best outcome? I love that question. That's a great way to kind of summarize what we're talking about here. How does an amputee get that team to talk to each other?
Yeah, that is a great question. I mean, I know different places kind of work differently. I know in Pittsburgh, I have doctors and physical therapist numbers in my phone. Like, they'll text me or call me if they have a concern. So just tell your prosthetist which physical therapist you're working with, which doctor you're working with. Most likely, you know, they might already have some relationship with them, but if not, they can build that relationship. So I mean, we're very lucky in Pittsburgh. We have a really strong network of, you know, doctors who work with amputees and physical therapists and occupational therapists and prosthetists who all work together. But again, definitely tell them, you know, who you're working with.
Who you're working with. Give them the list, signed all the HIPAA releases that you need to sign so they can all communicate with each other. The vast majority of the time, your team wants to talk to each other, but they won't know until you tell them who is on your team, okay? But don't hesitate to advocate for yourself. And if you're having an issue with that, an amputee coach like Lynn Nicola is helpful in kind of being the cohesive builder. Amputee Aid can help you create that team as well so that they're all talking and communicating to help you in your care. It is, you are not asking too much by asking your team to talk to each other, right, Caroline?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a team approach, and it's a I mean, it's a process. That's the other thing I like to highlight, especially at the beginning. It's a process, but it's worth it, I think, to maybe take it a little slower than you want to at the beginning. I know a lot of people are excited to get their leg and go, but you want to take that time at the beginning to, you know, build the right habits, learn what you need to learn about fit and sock management and all that, because the last thing you want is, you know, and also tell your prosthetist if something's bothering you. The last thing you want, you try to push through something, you know, discomfort or injury, and then it turns into a wound, and then you're not able to wear your leg for weeks, and that's going to slow you down even more. So that's why I really emphasize, you know, take it slow, bring things up when they come up. Don't try to power through.
Don't try to power through. We're all excited to get our limb and go on the day. But there's patience for a reason, and that's so that your fit is better overall. I see a compliment. Thank you, Melissa. We'd love to have you here every Wednesday at 2 o'clock. And yes, we'll absolutely reach out to you. But we also want to compliment Caroline, because we know every time we talk to you that we're going to learn so much. And I always learn more than I expect even. So thank you for gracing us with your time. I won't pressure you, but I will say we'd love to have you back sometime, because maybe we could do a whole session on our HD friends, which I think would be really cool, or hip disarticulation friends, or learn more about the above knee, kind of the direct fit socket. There's so much.
There's so much,
There's so much, which is why, you know, it's important to have those meetings, come prepared with your questions, bring a friend or a family member, or take the notes on the journal or whatever you need to do, and continue to ask and advocate for yourself so you can get your fit right.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
Okay. So thank you again. Let's see a round of applause for y'all know I love the emojis and the hearts and the celebrations and things for Caroline for being with us today. Now, everyone, give me a couple minutes here as we want to preview the rest of this month. So Caroline was our finale to Prosthetics 101 month extending into March. Yay. Thank you very much for being our finale. And what a wonderful finale you were.
Thank you.
For the rest of the month of March, we're going to do our theme is amputee lifestyle. Okay. So we are going to, next week, we are just turning left, hard left, completely different topic, okay? We are doing cooking for amputees. Yes, we are having a cooking party, everyone. Pampered Chef cooking party next Wednesday, 2 o'clock. We have giveaways, okay, for if no other reason than to try to qualify for a giveaway. Come back and watch us on Zoom with our guest from Pampered Chef. There's going to be adaptive cooking, lots of cool things, demonstrations, stuff. We'd love for you to buy some things because the proceeds come to Amputee Aid, and we can help all of your friends buy things like liners when insurance doesn't pay for them, or help with co-pays on any of these sockets. Okay, so come back next Wednesday at 2 o'clock for that. The week after that, we're going to have a travel discussion with our good friend Kim, who's often here on our Life Amplified, and also now a journalist for Amplitude Magazine. Congratulations, Kim. Kim will be here with us. And then we're ending the month with Paul Tuberville with Gait Pulse, an app that helps you monitor your lifestyle. Right now, it's for our lower amputees, lower extremity amputees, but hopefully soon it'll be for our upper extremity amputees as well. So you can learn all about this free app and all the cool things that it does, including keeping records of the longevity of your devices, how your walk is, how your fit is, any pain points or pressure points that you might have, that then you can share with your prosthetist when you go back and have your appointments to talk about your fit. So that is what we are doing for March. It's Amputee Lifestyle Month. We're going to do cooking, we're going to do traveling, we're going to do monitoring your walking, and I hope that you all will enjoy those sessions and come back and see us every Wednesday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on Zoom and on TikTok. Or you can watch the recordings, I should say, and you can watch the recordings on Fridays. We'll send them out to you. Caroline, thank you for being here today. And please thank everyone at Union for gifting us your time here today and educating us. If you have more questions, if they are questions that we can answer, you're welcome to share them with us. We don't want to bog down Caroline with millions of questions, so we might suggest gently that we get you in contact with your prosthetist. But certainly if you're in the Pittsburgh area and you're looking for a clinic, hit up Union, okay? We'd love to have you over at Union. Thank you. Everyone saying thank you to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, this was great.
We really appreciate it. Everyone, thank you for giving us an extended amount of time here this Wednesday with Life Amplified and Amputee Aid. We hope that you have a beautiful rest of the week, a wonderful beginning of next week, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Zoom and TikTok. Adaptive cooking, Pampered Chef Party, and giveaways. Join us next Wednesday, 2 o'clock. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everyone.